A very good morning to all the students of class 11th political science and students. Welcome back to the online classes here. As you know it very well, we were doing the sixth chapter of a book, that is Indian Constitution at Work, and the sixth chapter was Judiciary. And we had already finished two parts of your this chapter. And the first part we read about why do we need independent judiciary in our country, India. Then in the second video and the lecture we had discussed about appointment of judges as well as the removal of judges of Supreme Court as well as High Court. We read about the procedure, how do we do it, and I also explained you about the special majority system with the help of example. And today we are going to start a new topic, that is structure of the judiciary. So I mentioned for you, this is chapter number 6 part of this, and this is part number 3rd, that is today I'm making lecture number 3rd of this particular chapter, and the topic for the day is structure of the judiciary. So let's begin with this particular topic. Structure of the judiciary. As I told you, judiciary means the court system in India. So what is the structure of court system in India? That is judiciary. Let's see it. The Constitution of India provides a single integrated judicial system. If we talk about India, we have a single integrated judicial system. Integrated means interconnected, interrelated, and connected in the means of procedure with each other. So it is integrated, brought up all together. It's a single system. If we talk about India, it's a single judicial system, all integrated. This means that unlike some of other federal countries, we are also federal countries where there is a division of power between the states and the central government and the local government. But unlike the other federal governments of the world, India does not have separate state courts, because around the world there are many federal countries which have a separate state courts. Although we have high courts, but those we cannot say them as separate because they are all integrated as Supreme Court, High Court, or we can say district courts and subordinate courts. They are all integrated into one group, and we'll see the procedure how. The structure of the judiciary in India is pyramidal. If we say this is a shape. If I say judicial system in India is of pyramid shape, we have also read this in class 8. There was a diagram. At the top, at the apex level, is the Supreme Court. Okay, below it, this is the High Court. Below this, these are the district courts, and the last one, and at the last stair is the subordinate courts. Okay, so let S be subordinate courts. So this is the structure of the judiciary in India, and we call it is single integrated, as they are interrelated, interconnected with each other. We cannot say it is system is not like that this is Supreme Court, its functions are different completely. It has nothing to do with the High Court. And then we have separate district courts, we have separate subordinate courts. Yes, physically they are different and located at different places, but they are if in terms of provision and articles and according to the Constitution, they are all are interrelated and interconnected through various provisions of the Constitution. So that is why we say this is pyramidal in shape, with Supreme Court at the top, High Court below it, district court and subordinate court at the lowest level. So this is the chart of the judiciary of India, which is a single integrated system. We'll see it in detail in this diagram as well. This is a very good diagram to understand the structure of judiciary in India. So moving forward, the lower courts function under the direct superintendence of the higher courts. So they are saying the lower courts function under the direct superintendence of the higher court. If this is the Supreme Court, okay, so under this there is High Court, there is district court, and there is subordinate courts. So they all these three will also function under the supervision of Supreme Court, or the decision made by the Supreme Court will be binding on High Court, district court and subordinate court. In the same way, decision made in the High Court will be binding on the district courts as well as subordinate courts. And in this same scenario, the decisions are given by this district court will be binding on subordinate court, and subordinate court is at the lowest level, so it has to follow whatever decisions are made by the district court. So this is a chain where each higher court gives the supervision to the other lower court. So this is the chart. We will read, try and understand it. So at the apex level, as I told you, is the Supreme Court of India. Let's look at is some important characteristics, important elements, or we could call it the characteristics of Supreme Court of India. Its decisions are binding on all courts. As I told you, it is at the topmost level, the most powerful, not only in India, in the world also. So its all decisions are binding on all courts, and in all courts means High Court, District Court, and subordinate courts. Here, Supreme Court can transfer judges of High Court. It also has the authority and jurisdiction or the power to transfer judges of one High Court to other High Court easily or within the High Courts. Supreme Court can move cases from one court to itself. If Supreme Court finds that there is some issue going on which can cause unrest in the society or between various religious or regional groups or communities, in that case Supreme Court transfers that particular case to itself from a high court or from any court. Supreme Court can also transfer cases from one high court to the another. Suppose there is a issue going on within Uttarakhand, and here the Supreme Court feels that they are not looking after tackling the case properly. So from Uttarakhand High Court, a particular case can be transferred to Punjab High Court or UP High Court or to the High Court of some other state. So this is also the power and authority of the Supreme Court. So coming to the High Court now. High Court, as you know, this is the Supreme Court are the courts at the national level. This is the Supreme Court of India for the whole nation, and High Courts, there is a High Court in every state. This is state based. So High Court can hear appeals from lower courts. So what are the lower courts to High Court? If I say lower courts after the High Court are District Court and subordinate courts. To whatever the appeals are made in District Courts and subordinate courts, if they are transferred, appeal is made in the High Court. So that is why it's written, can hear appeals from lower courts, can issue rights for restoring fundamental rights. These writs are some of the orders given by the Supreme Court or the High Courts for the restoration or for the enforcement of fundamental rights, where few rights of a particular citizen has been violated. To restore it, these rights are given by the High Courts or Supreme Courts. Writs can deal with cases within the jurisdiction of the state. So the cases on which this High Court will deal is mostly within the state. It is not at the national level. So what are the problems going on within the district court or subordinate courts or within the state? This is a jurisdiction of a High Court. Exercises superintendence and control over the courts below it. So it will act as a supervisor on these two courts which are lower to High Court. Now coming to the District Court, I hope you have understood this change properly. The District Court deals with the cases arising in the district. So within the district, if there is some case, it will be handled by the District Court, since it can be easily handled by the District Court. But if some problem arises or the victim is not satisfied by the justice given by the District Court, he can appeal in the High Court also. But all the issues within the district are tackled by District Courts. Considers appeal on the decision given by the lower courts. What are the appeals given from the lower courts are also heard in the District Court. Considers appeal on the decision given by the lower court. Decides cases involving serious criminal offences. So all the criminal offences related to murder, rape, property issues, all such cases are tackled and taken up in the District Court. And subordinate court is at the lower level and the lowest step of this particular pyramid, and this considered cases of civil as well as criminal nature. So whatever there are civil related to property issues within the or the problem between various group of society, and criminal issues like murder, rape, etc. These are some of the issues taken by these lower courts, subordinate courts. So with this we come to the end of this particular chain and this diagram, and we can also call it a pyramid shape, where at the highest level, at the national level, is the Supreme Court, then High Court, District Court, and subordinate court. So the next topic of this particular chapter is jurisdiction of Supreme Court. So before I start the meaning this topic, jurisdiction of Supreme Court, I would like you to know the meaning of jurisdiction here, as you must be knowing already. But jurisdiction here means any official powers to make legal decisions and judgments. Any official power given to any legal body to make legal decisions and judgments. Those here talking in terms of this legal body is Supreme Court, and all the official powers and legal decisions which are made by the Supreme Court is its jurisdiction. What are the powers given to the Supreme Court by the Constitution is its jurisdiction. As in terms of individual, I say what is my jurisdiction as a teacher. If I am teaching you this subject, what is my jurisdictions, what is my extent of power. At least if you are not submitting your homework, what can I do? I can put that homework not submitted. I can call your parents. I can complain to principal ma'am or coordinator ma'am, okay, this child is not submitting. So this is my jurisdiction. I cannot come to your home, I cannot hit you, I cannot take you, capture your cell phone that you are not studying. So I cannot take these steps. These are not my jurisdictions. So whatever are my official powers given by the authority or the administration of the school to make legal decisions towards you is my jurisdiction. In the same way, there are jurisdictions of the Supreme Court, and in this we can say there are some extent of powers and authority which are given to Supreme Court by the Constitution. So we can also say the extent of the power to make legal decisions. Whatever is the extent of powers of the Supreme Court to make legal decisions and judgments is its jurisdiction. So I hope you have understood the meaning of jurisdiction. So in this topic we shall see what are the authorities and powers of the Supreme Court, or what is the extent to which areas it can implement its authority and official power. So the Supreme Court of India is one of the very powerful courts anywhere in the world. If we compare Supreme Court at the world level, it is one of the very powerful courts in the world. But we are talking about India here, so it is at the apex level, as I showed you in the diagram. However, it functions within the limitations imposed by the Constitution. So it does not mean it is most powerful, so it can show its monopoly, it can misuse the powers given to the Supreme Court, but no, it functions within the limitations. The limitations or the constants have been imposed by the Constitution in the functioning of Supreme Court as well. The functions and responsibilities of the Supreme Court are defined by the Constitution. So all the functions and responsibilities, powers, authority, everything is defined in the Constitution for Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has specified jurisdiction or scope of power. So everything is explained and specifically shown what is the jurisdiction of Supreme Court and what is the scope of the power of Supreme Court in the Constitution. And it is very important and very cleverly put up in the Constitution in such a way to make this body jurisdiction, Supreme Court, a powerful body which is we can say a protector of the Constitution, a protector of the rights of the individuals. So let's see what is the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court now through a diagram, and this is one of the very important diagram, if I would say, in your book. This will show what is a jurisdiction. So it's written here, I hope it is visible to you. Jurisdiction of Supreme Court of India. So this is the topic, and how many parts we can see? 1, 2, 3, and this is 4th. Okay, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4 type of jurisdictions, important jurisdictions given to the Supreme Court by the constitutions. Okay, the very first is original. If there is a question what are the jurisdictions of Supreme Court, you have to write about original, writ, appellate, and advisory. Okay, so in short, I will also explain you, I will read the further in this chapter, I will explain what do you mean by original, appellate, advisory. But in short we can see here, original is settles disputes between union and states and among states. If there is any conflicts, confusion, unrest between the union government, that is the central government, and any state within the country, or there is a confusion and conflict between two states, two neighboring states, like I can say Punjab, Haryana, or Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, such issues are directly under the authority of the Supreme Court. Okay, so these type of cases will not go to the lower courts, that this is the authority and the functions of the Supreme Court. It is called original. If I talk about the writ, as we have also read when we were doing the chapter fundamental rights, and the last fundamental right I told you, that is remedies to constitutional remedies, right to constitutional remedies. In that we read that if the rights of any citizens are violated, that particular person has the right to go to the High Court or the Supreme Court to restore its fundamental rights. So in that, Supreme Court and the High Court, they give some writ, and according to which the government has to enforce the rights or the laws properly. So there are various type of we had heard in this, that is habeas corpus, mandamus prohibition, certiorari, and the quo warranto, to protect the fundamental rights of the individuals. So all these writ are the writ, or the, we can say, a method to protect the fundamental rights of the individual, or to enforce the fundamental rights properly when there is violation of fundamental rights of an individual. And these writs are given by both High Court as well as Supreme Court. Okay. Then talking of the appellate, this tries appeals from lower court to in civil, criminal, and constitutional cases. If there is a case or appeal is going on in the lower courts, then, and the person or the individual is not satisfied by the justice or the decision given by the lower courts, he has the right to go to the higher court. And in this, I would say, hierarchy, he can go till up to Supreme Court to get justice. This system is called appellate. Advisory. So Supreme Court has also this jurisdiction, that is advisory. It means advises the president on matters of public importance in law. Any matters related to welfare of the state or people, or related to the upcoming new laws or framework of new drafts to make a new laws. On all these matters, the president take advice from the Supreme Court. So all these are some of the important, I would say, jurisdictions or the powers of Supreme Court. So as we have seen and understood the diagram, now take each jurisdiction one by one, and we will try and understand what is the important matter written within it. So original jurisdiction, as I told you, original jurisdiction means cases that can be directly considered by the Supreme Court. There are some sort of cases which are directly taken by Supreme Court, and it is the only the authority of Supreme Court, without going to the lower courts before that. So what kind of cases are these? So from the diagram above, you will notice that cases involving federal relation. If a word is called federal relations, means we are talking about the union government and the state government and the local government, and the powers and functions distribution amongst them. So in that diagram, we were involving about federal relations go directly to the Supreme Courts. So any confusion, conflict between the central government or the state government, or the two state governments, those type of case are directly taken up by the Supreme Court. The original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court establishes it as an empire in all disputes regarding federal matters. So whenever there will be any federal matters, so Supreme Court will act as a empire here, and this is called original jurisdiction. In any federal country, legal disputes are bound to arise between the union and the state. So whenever there is a federal country, that is, there is distribution of power at the various levels, distribution of functions as well, authorities as well. So it is bound that there will be some conflicts and disputes between union and the states, among the states themselves, or among the states themselves. The power to resolve such cases is entrusted in the Supreme Court of India. So it is only the power given to Supreme Court of India to resolve such issues coming in our territory. It is called original jurisdiction. Okay, because neither the High Court nor the lower court can deal with such cases, because no other lower court can deal with such cases except Supreme Court, and these type of issues are directly brought to the Supreme Court. That is why it is called original jurisdiction. So moving forward, as I explained you about writ jurisdiction, as you have already studied in chapter on fundamental rights, any individual, so we read it when we were reading fundamental rights one by one, and when we were reading about right to fundamental remedies, any individual whose fundamental rights have been violated, suppose we are an individual and our any right to equality has been violated in any case, okay, we will have the authority, or we will have the right, we can go directly move to the Supreme Court for remedy, for restoring our that fundamental right. The Supreme Court can give special orders in the form of writ. So whatever the Supreme Court gives some special order, and those special orders are called writs. The High Courts can also issue writs. High Courts, we can go to the High Court or Supreme Court, any two goes. So, but the person whose rights are violated have the choice to either approach the High Court or the approaching the Supreme Court. So it's up to the person whose rights have been violated. If you want to go to the High Court of his state, he can approach the High Court. If you want to approach directly to the Supreme Court, he can directly approach the Supreme Court and appeal there. And through such writs, so the Supreme Court or the High Court will give a writ, okay, and these writs are in relation to the violation of the fundamental rights of an individual. The courts can give order to executive to act or not to act in a particular way. Okay, so these are called writs. Moving now to the further jurisdiction, which is the appellate jurisdiction, as this also I have explained in a short introduction, and this is also you have done all this in the junior classes as well. The Supreme Court in the highest court of appeal, as we know Supreme Court is at the apex level, highest court of the appeal. A person can appeal to the Supreme Court against the decision of the High Court. If we have appealed in some case was going on and the decision has made by the High Court which is against us, and we feel we are not satisfied and we have not got the justice, in that case we can also appeal further to the Supreme Court. But there will be one condition: High Court must certify that the case is fit for appeal. Here directly we cannot move to the Supreme Court. That particular case should be approved by High Court. Okay, this case is fit and it can be appealed in the Supreme Court for the further decision making. That is to say that it involves serious matters of interpretation of law or constitution. In criminal cases, in the lower courts has sentence. For example, they are saying if a lower court, it can be any lower court, it can be at district level or it can be at High Court. If any of the courts have sentenced a person to death for any we can say violation or any crime, he has been sentenced death, then an appeal can be made to the High Court or the Supreme Court. Okay, then again after the final decision also, then it can be appealed. He has the right to appeal in the Supreme Court or the High Court. Of course, the Supreme Court holds the power to decide whether to admit appeal even when appeal is not allowed by the High Court. Appellate jurisdiction means that the Supreme Court will reconsider the case. Appellate jurisdiction means any decision is made on a particular case, but again if the appeal is made to the Supreme Court, here Supreme Court will reconsider the case. He will open the files again, see the case again and the legal issues involved in it. And the last is the advisory jurisdiction. As with the word itself we can understand, it means advise jurisdiction. So Supreme Court also act as an advisory to President here, because whenever the new laws are framed, before they frame certain laws by the Council of Ministers, as we know, if we talk about the executive, the head is the president, but the head of the Council of Ministers is the prime minister, and the president has to function on the advice of the Council of Ministers. So whenever there is a framing of new law, these Council of Ministers and through the President wants advice of the Supreme Court that okay, we are making some law, is it under the norms and values which are put up in the Constitution, so that in future there may not be any problem issues related to its legislation. So, in addition to original and appellate jurisdiction, the Supreme Court of India possesses advisory jurisdiction. The Supreme Court has also advisory jurisdiction. This means the President of India can refer any matter that is of public importance, any matter which is of public importance or welfare. Here, President can ask the advice of the Supreme Court, that which involves interpretation of the Constitution, and the advice are especially in the interpretation of the Constitution, that whatever planning we are doing to make such certain laws, are these laws in interpretation or in according to the values and norms of the Constitution, to Supreme Court for advice. So they go to the advice first to Supreme Court. However, the Supreme Court is not bound to give advice to such matters. The President is not bound to accept such an advice. It is exactly the same thing I told you. It's written here. What then is the utility of the advisory power? What is the use of the advisory power of the Supreme Court? The utility of it is twofold. So we can say there is twofold or the two advantage of this advisory power of Supreme Court for the government especially. In the first place, it allows the government to seek legal opinion. Here the legal opinion are given by the Supreme Court, which are very correct according to the constitution. So first of all, government gets the certification from the Supreme Court according to legal opinion on the matters of importance before taking action on it. This may prevent unnecessary litigation later, that is confusion and objection in relation to any law which has been implemented by the government. In advance, these government, they verify particular laws through Supreme Court. Secondly, in the light of the advice of Supreme Court, the government can make suitable changes in the action and legislation. Within the advice of the Supreme Court, this government can make changes and actions, suitable changes in the actions of legislation. So these are the powers and jurisdictions of the Supreme Court. With this, we come to the end of this particular topic. Thank you.